Good morning, students. Today onwards, we shall discuss the postulates. Whole quantum mechanics or the quantum chemistry is actually depends is based on few postulates. Okay, and yes. Now the question is, yeah, I will go to the uh, postulates maybe just after this slide, but let me spend 1 minute. And there are two different formalisms for quantum chemistry or the quantum mechanics in general. Okay, right now, when it is developed, when it was developed in the at the first quarter of the 20th century, there is only one formalism. But later on, it was shown by various people that there are two different approaches to understand the quantum mechanics. One approach is the wave mechanics, which has actually proposed and developed by Schrodinger and Heisenberg. Okay, and the other approach was actually developed and proposed by Richard Feynman and then Hibbs, A.R. Hibbs. So these are the two people developed the path integral approach. Currently, we have two different approaches to understand quantum mechanics. Okay, but in general, in MSc chemistry, normally we go by the first formalism, that is the wave mechanics. We don't go by the path integral approach. Why? Because the path integral approach is somewhat tedious. Okay, but let me introduce, let me tell you or share with you what is exactly wave mechanics. The wave mechanics actually is based on the concept of Schrodinger wave equation. And as I told you, as we have seen, the matter particles behave like a wave. If matter particles behave like a wave, there must be a wave equation. Why? Because by then already, when he proposed the Schrodinger proposed the wave equation for microscopic particle, by then already there is some equation, what we call it as a diffusional equation. There is a diffusional equation which was actually is there for a diffusional for a colloidal particle. I'm sure that you all know what is the Brownian motion. And Brownian motion is nothing but, suppose you have a colloidal particle, and this particle, what is the motion of this particle? This particle behaves very abnormally, and it's not in a systematic way. So it behaves like very strangely. Okay, its motion is very randomly. Nobody actually predicts it. Okay, but then for such a particle, there was already a equation. That equation, what we called as a diffusional equation, and as you can see here, the rate of change, this is the equation, but then the physical meaning of this equation is the rate of change in the p of x comma t is equal to, I'm sorry, yeah, so the rate of change in p of x comma t is equal to d multiplied by del square p of xt. This is a diffusional equation which is already there in the subject. Well, so there is already one equation. That equation, what we call it as a diffusional equation, that to describe the Brownian motion of a colloidal particle. This equation is nothing but the rate of change in probability, the rate of change in probability dou by dou t in terms of the uh, wordings. We say it is a rate of change, right? T is actually time. With respect to time, the rate it is changing, right? The rate of change in probability of the Brownian particle in a given location is directly proportional to the uh, d, that is the is equal to d diffusional coefficient, and also del square, and also multiplied by p of x comma t. That is the expression. Now Schrodinger actually came up and then said that, okay, if you're such a random particle, colloidal particle has an equation, why not my matter wave particle? Why not it cannot? Why can't be an equation for the matter wave, right? Especially for the microscopic matter particle. Okay. Now he has actually proposed this equation. This equation equation nothing but this one. Okay, IH cross rate of change in, okay, so this psi of x comma t is equal to minus h cross square upon 2m del square psi of x comma t. Okay, so don't worry about this expression, but this expression is somewhat similar to this expression. In which way? You can see here there is a rate of change in wave function. Here it is wave function, there it is a probability. Okay, there is a somewhat similarity, at least the structure of the equation is concerned. Okay, and multiplied by the probability itself, here also the wave function itself, and multiplied by some kind of coefficient and also del square operator. So this is the expression given by the Schrodinger. Of course, this expression is for the free particle where there is no potential energy. Where there is no potential energy. If the particle is freely moving in a space without interacting with other one, then it doesn't have any potential energy, then such a particle is said to be free particle, and its wave function is psi of x comma t. Right? Suppose the same expression one can also write down to a particle which is interacting. Okay, when it is interacting, then it will have a potential energy. Then in such a situation, the particle can the Schrodinger wave equation what he has proposed will have this kind of appearance. Okay, so what is the difference between this one and the previous expression? The difference is only this one. Okay, v of x comma t, where v of x is actually is said to be the potential energy of the system. Okay, now what is the advantage of this equation? Okay, the advantage of this equation is very straightforward. Suppose if you know the psi of x comma 0, that means if you know the wave function of the system at a when t, that means if you know the system wave function when t is equal to 0, then using this expression, it is possible that how the system is evolving with respect to the time can be actually evaluated. That is the purpose of this equation, which was actually proposed by the Schrodinger. Okay, understand? So if we have the advantage of this expression is very straightforward. If you know psi of x comma t when t is equal to 0, that means basically psi of x 0. If you know the initial wave function of the system, then it is possible to calculate exactly and precisely how it behave after after some time. Okay, after some time, the time can be your choice of your interest. Okay, so that is the purpose of this equation. Now briefly, what is path integral approach? Briefly, the path integral approach, probably you can go through. There is a one chapter in R. Shankar, the quantum mechanics, one book. I think that book already I shared, the soft copy I already shared with you. You can go through. There is one chapter, I think if I'm right, the fourth or fifth chapter is there, the path integral approach. The path integral formalism for understand the quantum mechanics is a bit tedious when you are actually performing, but the concept is somewhat simpler. So I shall give only the concept but not detail, because this is beyond the scope of the MSc chemistry, quantum chemistry. Okay, therefore I will not go to the details, but then I will just be done. Okay, you can see a person with a bottle. Okay, who is this person? How do you describe this person? Can anybody say how do you describe this person?
He's a drunkard.
Okay, very good. Very much correct. A drunken fellow is there, and he wants to go to his home. Okay. Now, he will go to his home. How will reach his house? Okay. Now, this is one simple possibility. Okay. There is another possibility is this way. Okay, there is another possibility that one, and there are in fact n number of possibilities are there, isn't it? He is a drunken fellow. Actually he started. He just came out from the bar or restaurant, and then he started walking towards his home. As you know, the drunken fellow, how he walks. He never walks in a straightforward manner. He walks very randomly, and he will not reach home in a straight manner, but then he will walk in a random position. Randomly he walks here and there, and somehow he will reach home, right? So suppose if you want, to describe the motion of this drunken fellow, what you will do? Suppose if I ask you to describe this person in terms of a mathematical expression, what you would do? Okay, now somebody will come up with a interesting thing. Okay, suppose this fellow, first of all, there are a number of ways in which he can go to his house or home. This is one possibility, this is another possibility, this is another possibility, 4, 5. Okay, but in principle there are n number of possibilities are there to reach his house, isn't it? So what we normally it is done. Okay, suppose if this drunken fellow is taken the path number 1, what is the probability of taking this path and then reaching home? So that can be calculated, isn't it? If you know the path, that means if you know this path, then the probability of this drunken fellow traveling this path and reaching home can be calculated, which I may denote with P1. Okay, this is the probability number 1. Similarly, this is P2, I can calculate. Similarly, P3 I can calculate. P4 I can calculate, and P5 I can calculate. Okay, so the the path integral approach, actually what it tells is this: it is the summation of all probabilities that actually a drunken fellow can take to reach his home. Okay, so you can just replace in this illustration a drunken fellow with the electron. Okay, why electron? Because you never know how electron behaves, how he electron traveling in a space, right? So therefore you can actually correlate the drunken fellow motion with the electron, and then if electron is there, and then if you want to describe such an electron motion in a space, it moves very randomly, and then the summation over the all path has to be taken, and then you have to uh, 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 individual probabilities in individual path actually one has to calculate initially, and then later on one has to take the summation over the entire paths. So that is the concept of path integral approach, very briefly and in a very crude language. Okay, but the concept I am sure that everybody understood, but this is not as simple as I have explained to you. Okay, it is very tedious job because it is very much mathematical. So much mathematical expressions are there involved in this expression. Of course, there are a lot of assumptions. I know one of the assumption is that here I have drawn different path, but then all path cannot be taken. There are certain assumption one has to take, that each time the drunken fellow walks, he never takes, he should not take the same path again in the next day, right? Suppose if you are trying to describe this fellow over a month of time, that what is the path that this path is taken or this path is taken. If you want to evaluate, then one should not write the same path in all the times. Okay, so there are several assumptions. Let us not go to the details, but you can just remember that the total wave function is taken to be the sum of all possible contribution to that particle could have taken. Okay, when it comes to the electron motion or the particle motion. Okay, please always remember, whenever I cite a particle, it will be always a microscopic particle. Okay, it can be a electron, or it can be a neutron, or it can be alpha particle, etc., etc. But mostly we will confine to the electron motions. Okay, so please remember that whenever I cite the particle is the microscopic particle. Okay. Now, so with this brief introduction on two formulas and to understand the quantum mechanics, so I can happily introduce the postulates in quantum mechanics. As I told you, the whole quantum mechanics actually is based on few postulates, and I have claimed many times that this is one of the beautiful subjects that a man actually has developed ever before. Many times I have claimed it's such a beautiful subject. It explains almost everything. Okay, and now the question is why such a beautiful subject is actually is standing on few number of postulates. So why there is a base of four or five postulate in the case of quantum mechanics? That is the question I am just posing to all of you. Why uh, postulates? I mean, this I normally, I give the example which my teacher used to tell this story before introducing the postulate. The same story I'm telling to you. Postulate means that these are just a postulate. So the meaning of the postulate. They are not basically real. Okay. Then why such a beautiful subject was developed based on few unreal thing. I mean, few statements, okay, which are not really true. That is the question I'm asking. The reason is very simple. Uh, you can postulate a number of things, but then at the end, if experiments are actually matching with your theory, then that means no matter what kind of assumptions or postulates that you have taken in your theory, it doesn't matter, but it will be recognized in the scientific community. That is the more scientific explanation uh, about introducing the quantum mechanics postulates. I'm sure that you are following me. So why there are postulates in quantum mechanics? If it is said to be so beautiful, why it is actually rely on few postulates? That is the question. My answer is very simple. Okay, you can have n number of postulates in any given theory, but it is only validated with respect to the experiment. So I have developed a theory based on few postulates, and then I try to validate my theory and the theory with the experiment, and the experimental results are actually matching with the are consistent with the experiment theory. Therefore, I don't mind how it was actually developed, right? Isn't it? I mean, I can tell another story. There is another story. Again, this was actually said by my MSc class teacher, Professor Durga Prasad. The same thing I am just telling. We have there are three different religions. I hope that you all agree that, uh, of course, fourth religion. Well, not only fourth, there are several religions are there, but I'm just taking three major religions. That is Hinduism, and we have Christianity, and we have Muslimism. Okay, and these are the three religions, and these three religions are based on, I would say, certain assumptions, right? And suppose if somebody, I'm sure that in the 39 student or 40 number of students, I'm sure that you will have a composition of who are actually practicing Hinduism, who are actually practicing Christianity, who are actually practicing the uh, Muslim, right? And suppose you want to practice Hinduism, then you have to believe certain things. What are those? Well, when it comes to the Hinduism, then you have to believe that there are more than 3 crores of gods and their goddesses are there. Okay, what not everything is a god. A tree, a stone, and everything, nature, everything is a god. And apart from that, we have so many people like Rama, Krishna, and there are many people, many gods and goddesses are there. Okay, so these are you have to believe all these people. What all are written in the epics and everything that you have to believe. If you want to practice the Hinduism, definitely you have to practice, isn't it? And you have to believe that these things are true. The second thing, I will come to Christianity, that the whole Christianity is based on the Trinity concept. Okay, and you have a Son, Father, and then Holy Spirit. These are the 3 foundations of Christianity, right? And and if you want to practice Christianity, then definitely you have to believe in this, right? Jesus, he has actually arrived, and then he crucified. He has done something almost 3.5 years. He has actually spread the gospel of his father, and then he was crucified based on some reasons. So these are something that you have to believe. And similarly, the same thing applies to the Muslim religion as well. Now, suppose my question is not just highlighting or these concept in the religion, but the concept what I'm trying to draw from you is that, okay, if you want to practice any of the religion, then definitely you have to believe certain things in those religions, right? Definitely. uh, Without believing, you can apply your own religion, what you have been practicing since your childhood. You have to believe this thing. Once you believe, then you can do everything. Everything is, if it is Sunday, then you will go to a church. If you are practicing this one, if you are a Hindu, then if there is a festival, then you have to go to temple and do some abhishekam. All those things are there, right? So if it is a Muslim, every day 5 times or 3 times you have to do namaz. All those things are actually consequences of what you have believed. Once you believe, then the consequence actually come into picture. Okay, so similarly, what I claim is that if you want to believe the quantum mechanics or quantum chemistry, then you have to believe these postulates. Or I would say that if you want to join the religion of quantum chemistry or quantum mechanics, I suggest all of you to believe these postulates, and then only it is possible to understand subject in a better way. Okay, so the postulates, the name itself gives you some kind of different meaning. Why? Because I have claimed, or anybody would claim, that the quantum mechanics is so beautiful. If it is so beautiful, why there is a question of postulate? It should have been based on some of the scientific grounds, right? To address that thing, what I have given the first and foremost reason, is that the scientific experimental results are actually well matching with the predictions what you are making out of the quantum mechanics or quantum chemistry. Therefore, no matter whether it is developed on postulates or some other concepts. So that is the general explanation about explanation about the postulates or introducing the postulates.